Hi, everybody. How are you? I am here. I am Cheryl Abram, and this is Person Centered Cyber. I had to get away. Y'all have, oh my God, there's just been so much going on. I'm like, I need to get on camera so I can relax and just get away from all the stuff that I've been doing. Very interesting things, but oh my goodness, my mind has to rest. It has, and this is how I do it. I come on here and I talk to y'all. All right. So, an amazing person on my Patreon sent me a question about she's studying for Security Plus, and she wanted a simpler explanation of function as a service. And because that's what I do, okay, I told her that I would go online and share it with everybody, for those of you studying for Security Plus or whatever else you're doing, where function as a service or something like that comes up, or even if you're not studying for anything, and just, maybe you haven't heard of function as a service, well, you're going to get a really simple explanation of it right now. I want you to took my allergy stuff. Oh my goodness. Okay. So let's start here. Now, one thing that I have discovered as I, navigate through this cyber security career and the training, okay, because I do a lot to develop curricula for various things. And what I'm noticing is and I know it's not just cyber professionals, okay, but when we explain things, when I look at YouTube videos from conferences or when I read people's blogs, reading about all of the as a service, the type things, including function as a service, when we're talking to folks, we're talking to our people, we're talking to developers, we're talking to engineers, and that even comes through in the training, the Security Plus content and all the other things, that we do to try to learn this, which is fine for a certain group. It's not fine when we have individuals trying to enter into the profession, either from like straight from school, or like me, a career changer, because and someone actually asked me today, one of my former colleagues, she was asking how hard was it to get the Security Plus, or was it difficult for me to get the Security Plus? And I said, yes, it was much more difficult. Security Plus was much more difficult for me than the cybersecurity analyst, okay, which is a higher level certification. Because the content is like drinking from a fire hose. Okay, there is a lot of content there. And I had to get it quickly, if I wanted to be considered for this contract position. So I did not have the recommended years of experience in cybersecurity. Okay, so I could not lean on my understanding of security. I had to lean very, very heavily on memorization, okay, in order to get, a lot of the content and to answer the questions correctly. And my memory is terrible. I mean, it's garbage. All right. So that's why Security Plus was very, very hard for me. Cybersecurity analyst, not so much, because that was more analysis. That was more about reading something, looking at things and putting them together. Okay. I could do that, every day and twice on Sunday. Okay. That just comes naturally for me. So CISA was not difficult at all. All right. But Security Plus, child, and it's for that reason, because things are not simplified. Okay. And it's hard to find somebody who can really simplify these concepts, even people who work in the profession. It's hard you know, to really find somebody who can do that. So a lot of what I do, and not just for curriculum development, but just like everyday stuff, because I work directly with people who are not familiar with a lot of these things. And even those who are familiar with it, okay, they don't really get it a lot. Okay. They don't. They can talk to you about it, okay, but if they had to break it down, okay, if they wouldn't be able to do it, okay, because they only know it to a certain level. So I was happy to do this. Okay, I like doing this anyway, you know. I like, because it helps me to discover more about different topics and things, you know, and I can't be mad at that. All right, so okay, I talked about that. Now, function as a service. Okay, first of all, um, who uses that? Okay, like in everyday life, right? Where would you even see that? See function as a service, right? Uh, Netflix. Netflix uses it. They partner with AWS. Alexa. Alexa uses function as a service. And I even found there is something called FAAS Wars, FAAS Wars, where developers learn about serverless and they win cash prizes for the best virtual robot. Okay. Now, function as a service is not serverless. Those are two, you know, separate things. But we're going to get to that. But you know, a lot of folks consider it serverless. They just call it serverless because but that's not really what it is. Even though it needs a serverless, someone who provides serverless services. Okay. All right. So number one, to understanding what function as a service is, simply, is to understand what is a function. All right. Now, when I first heard function as a service, my mind went right to value analysis. Okay, because when I studied that, when I studied value engineering, part of value, that whole formula is function. And in value engineering, a function is distinct from a definition. A function is what something does, where a definition is what something is. Okay? So a function is about the purpose of the thing, right? What the thing does. You understand? Okay. And that's no different in coding, right? So in coding, a function is just code that does something, does a specific thing. All right. I know when I was looking at was it Python stuff? I think it was Python stuff, right? No, it wasn't Python. It was CS Unplugged. And they had an exercise in there where they were talking about functions, where they described a function as when you're writing, or y'all remember those when we used to buy cassette tapes for for those, the older folks, you know, in the room, or even if you go to YouTube, right, and you pull up a song in the lyrics, you'll see the lyrics. Okay, a function would be like, the way CS Unplugged had this exercise, they explained it like a function is like the chorus. Okay, so when you write the lyrics to the song, then you get to the chorus and you see what the chorus says. Okay, now after that, you don't have to write the chorus again. You just write chorus. All right, and you know what's there. You know what the chorus of the song is, right? So you just go ahead and go with the chorus. All right. So they, in CS Unplugged, that was one way that they explained what a function is and what it does. Okay. So like we as human beings have functions, right? Like we're coded to do certain things, right? For example, reproduction, we're coded for that. Communication, we're coded for, and that's not just talking. That's, you know, verbal and nonverbal forms of communication. Okay, we're coded for that. Respiration, you know, we got to breathe. We're breathing. You know, we're coded to function in a certain way. All right. Now, so that's the function part. Now, as a service, okay, now this is where the serverless stuff comes in and how people, use function as a service, and serverless is the same thing when they're actually not. So let me show you. Now, this was interesting, right? So when you start with two things, okay, you have monolith architecture and you have, what is it, microservice architecture. All right, now let me show you some pictures just to show you what I'm talking about here. All right. Oh, that's bright. Okay, now let's look at monolith. What y'all know what a monolith is? Like the Washington Monument in DC. That's an example of like a monolith. Okay. Did I say modular or monolith? I meant to say monolith. Let me share this thing so I can show you what I'm talking about. So I can show you the way now. Okay, here we go. Not that dude right there, but this thing. That's like a monolith, right? Is one big old thing. Okay. Monolith architecture. All right. It's just one big piece of something. All right. Like an application. A big old piece of application. All right. The whole thing, you either get all of it or you get none of it. Okay. It's just a whole big thing. All right. And then you have, so imagine then what the microservice architecture, would be if this thing was made of big blocks of Legos. Okay, and you could take pieces off, right? So if you needed to fix something or whatever, you could just take that piece off and do what you need to do and then put it back. You don't have to disturb the entire application or the entire building or whatever. Okay, so let me show you this other picture. There you go. Now, here's an analogy for function as a service. All right, everybody in here has a kitchen, I think, or you've been in the kitchen, okay, even if you don't have your own. All right. Now, if you think of a kitchen, there are several things that can happen in a kitchen. There are several functions. Okay, you got your refrigerator, right? That keeps your food cold. It may also make ice. Okay, it keeps your food cold and make ice. Let's just go with those two. Then you have your stove, where you can cook on the stove top, or you can bake something. Okay, so that's functions of the stove. What else you got in here? Then you got your sink in the back there, all right, where you can wash dishes, turn the water on, wash dishes, clean meat, whatever you do at your sink. Soak your socks. Okay, all right. So the sink has several functions. You got a dishwasher, which has a function, to wash your dishes. Okay. All right. So you have all of these things in the kitchen with different functions that have different functions. Okay. So if we can think of if you look at this kitchen as a monolithic architecture, all right, that would mean, okay, so I have the function here. I'm baking a pie or something. Okay. But I've started like a business or something has happened and I need more baking capacity. Okay. So with this kind of architecture, I would need to make a new kitchen. All right. And, put the stove in there and, and all the things that I need. All right. I need a whole nother kitchen. If I need that function in a larger capacity. Okay. Now, when it comes to function as a service, right, I wouldn't need to do that. All right. I don't need to get a whole new kitchen. I just need to get another stove. That's all I need. And if I no longer need that stove to build anymore, I can get rid of it. All right. So now the thing with now, if you think about this and everything that I read about infrastructure as a service, software as a service, all that stuff. You can tell that when you're reading that stuff, they're talking to developers, so if you're trying to understand it from a user perspective, it's gonna be hard. If you're trying to understand it from a perspective other than the developer's perspective, okay, or the engineer's perspective, or someone who understands, stacks and what it means when you move up the stack and down the stack and all that, you know what I mean? You're gonna have a hard time, really getting it. So the reason that I like to do this kind of stuff, right, is just so we can just like quickly be like, oh, okay, I see, I get it. Now let me get to the lingo. Let me get to the language, all right, about what all this is. Now that I have a basic understanding about what it does and what it is, okay? So let me get rid of this real quick. All right. So now in order for, let's say I'm a developer and I want to make a game. Okay, I want to make a game. And I'm not trying to deal with messing with a server. I just don't have the money or the interest in doing all that. I just want to make my game. That's all I want to do. Okay. And offer it, to my customers, the people who want to buy it. So I find a serverless provider like AWS or Azure or Google. Google has stuff too, okay? And what they're going to do is, now you ain't going to get away from a server. Well, we say serverless, but that just means somebody else doing it, right? Same thing with cloud. How cloud means it's on somebody else's computer, like that's where your stuff is, right? Serverless is the same way. Somebody else is doing all that, all right? You don't have to do it, okay? Some AWS or Amazon or Google, they're managing the application server for you, okay? So I can concentrate on making my game, okay, and all the functions that can be called, by the person who's playing the game, and when the function is called, what the serverless provider is going to do is they're going to spin up, like in AWS, what is it called? EC something, when you spin up a server, they're going to go ahead and do that, okay, and run that function just for the time that it's needed, which is another good thing, okay? It's just for the time that it's needed, and when it's no longer needed, it's shut off and the server goes away. The server doesn't even need to be there anymore, right? So the good thing about that, so think about it like you're in the kitchen and you turn on the water in the kitchen, okay? The water is the computing power, right? Once you no longer need the computing power to run that code, to run the function, you turn it off, okay? So you're only paying for the computing power that you use, okay? Which is a good, that's a great money saver. Now, I don't think that scales very well. Like up to some point, you're not saving a lot of money, like up to a certain threshold or something. I don't know. I have a little more into that though, but it's not rocket science, okay? It's just being able to, and I tell people this all the time. Every single thing we talk about in IT and cybersecurity, they know. They're familiar with it, okay? I was telling Dr. Phillips the other day, I know before I went into cyber, okay, I knew everything he knew. I just knew it as something else. I did not know that, hold on a second, let me see. Now, let me do this. So I did not know that Google's, is this it right here? IP address was something dot something dot something dot something. I didn't know that. All I knew was google.com. But it's the same thing. Okay, I just didn't know it like that, right? And that applies to everything in IT. And so unless you have never touched a digital device in your life, okay, but if you have, you know a lot already. And you even need to know digital devices. I just used the damn kitchen to talk about what I was talking about. You know what I mean? When I talked about bits, I went to 7th grade, all right, and pulled up information about the different types of energy. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not, and so to talk about it like it's this big highfalutin whatever, that is not true. Okay. It is possible to explain these concepts to a 5th grader. You know, you just have to know what it is in order to do that. That's the problem. If you feel like a 5th grader can't understand it, then you can't, you know, at least not deeply enough to make it, to simplify it for other people. And if we again are going to be able to compel, you know, users, to compel people in organizations, people who use, you know, digital devices and all that, if we're going to be able to compel them to use the authority they have to keep themselves and others secure, we need to learn how to talk to these people. Today, had an experience today where SOC analysts were, I mean, just struggling to get the fact that when you give a report, okay, people who are not, people who don't have a security plus, even though you may be working in you know, a IT organization or the CIO's office or whatever, you still have people in there who need to know the information you have, but won't be able to understand it, you know, from an IT or cyber perspective. You're going to have to look through their eyes, you know, and be able to help them get it, right? Especially leadership, because they're the ones who are using what you say. You're helping them understand to make decisions. So if you can't talk to leadership in a simplified way to really just help them get the big picture and get it quickly, so they don't have to ask, you know, 101 questions to try to figure out what the hell, you know, these ACAS scan numbers mean. All right. You know, if you can't explain it, then don't be mad at them when they're like, well, we ain't got no money for that. Okay. Because they don't get, you know, they don't get what you get because you're unable to really break it down so that they get it. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to training, that stuff needs to be added to what we're doing. We really do need to add sections. And I actually have this on my mural where I'm putting together the content for the cybersecurity analyst exam. There's an activity in there where you have to take technical statements. Like the scenario is you're writing an email to the whole organization about a change that you've made for their mail. Okay. It starts off very technical. All right. You're going to have to go through steps to break that down so that the equal employment opportunity you know, intern can understand what that means. Okay. And can know why they need to read it. All right. You're not going to be able to have all that technical stuff in there. You're not, you know, not if they're going to be interested and read the whole thing. You know what I mean? So we have to do, you know, all this training that we're doing and certs and all that stuff. We're missing big, I mean, huge, enormous pieces, a lot of, you know, skill and knowledge. Okay. That, you know, we're just letting people go without even telling them, you know, trying to convince them all you need to know is how to use Splunk and you good. No. Mm-mm. No. That's not gonna work. Okay. Yeah, we need to and we can do a lot better. So Like I said, I do enjoy doing this kind of stuff. Okay. And if I've said anything that you feel is kind of, Cheryl, girl, what you talking about? That's not the way that works. Then let me know. All right. Because I'm all about, I'm not up here trying to, pretend like I know everything. All right. Or I understand all things that deeply. Because I don't, you know, I do appreciate others' perspective. And I don't mind being corrected, you know. So let me know if you see something else, or if you have a different understanding of what it is or how it works or something like that. Okay. Um, but again, so we're all here for each other. Okay, to help each other not have to memorize. Okay, when you don't have to memorize, you you have so much more bandwidth available when you don't have to memorize something. You know, your mind just isn't trying to hold on to concepts, right? Because that's the only way you could keep it, right? Versus understanding, where it doesn't have, you have understanding, you don't have to hold on to anything. You don't have to hold on. It's like a function. When it's asked for, when it's called, you spin it up. If I ask you what's your name, that's not something you had to remember. I'm calling for your name. So you spin up the bandwidth, the server, to give me that information. And when you don't need it no more, what you do? Go about your business. You don't have to hold in the front of your head what your name is in case somebody asks you. Okay. No. You can do any other thing you want to do because you know it's there. And if somebody asks, you got it. Okay. Function as a service. There you go, right there. All right. Let me get at least one more hour work done. Then I'm going to bed. Okay, because it's just the time. Y'all have a good evening. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do so. And I'm going to be back. I'll see you guys back here very soon. All right. Have a good one. Bye.